Behold, this heart which has loved us so much. Dear brothers and sisters, today the Church invites us to contemplate not merely a symbol, but the very mystery of God's love revealed in the heart of Jesus. The solemnity of the Sacred Heart of Jesus is a feast of divine love, a love that is faithful, merciful, wounded, and redemptive. The Sacred Heart is the gospel in one image. When we gaze upon the heart of Jesus pierced by the lance on Calvary, we see the visible sign of invisible love of God. The heart of Jesus reveals who God really is, not a distant ruler, but a Father whose love seeks every human person. God chooses us because He loves us. In the first reading, Moses reminds Israel, it was not because you were more numerous than any other people that the Lord set his heart on you and chose you. It was because the Lord loved you. The foundation of our relationship with God is not our merit, but his love. This is the first truth of the Sacred Heart. God does not love us because we are good. Rather, we become good because he loves us. Before we prayed, before we repented, before we sought him, his heart was already seeking us. The Catechism of the Catholic Church beautifully says, God's love is everlasting. Through all the changes of history, He remains faithful to His covenant. The Sacred Heart reminds us that divine love is not earned, it is received. Second reading brings us before us this ultimate truth: God is love. Notice that St. John does not say God merely possesses love. He says God is love. Everything God does flows from His loving nature. Creation is love, redemption is love, incarnation is love, the cross is love. The Sacred Heart is therefore a revelation of the inner life of God Himself. For Benedict XVI wrote, the heart of God burns with compassion. In the heart of Jesus, God Himself comes in the search of humanity. The pierced heart of Christ manifests the eternal love of the Trinity poured out for the salvation of the world. St. Augustine beautifully says, the measure of love is to love without measure. Such is the heart of Jesus. The heart of Jesus, in fact, is humility. In the Gospel reading, we see Jesus makes one of the most beautiful invitations in all the Scriptures. Come to me, all who labor and who are burdened, and I will give you rest. Notice where Jesus directs our attention. Learn from me, for I am meek and humble of heart. Jesus could have said, learn from my power, learn from my wisdom, learn from my miracles. Instead, he says, learn from my heart. The only place in the gospel where Jesus explicitly describes his heart is here. The heart of Christ is characterized by meekness, humility, mercy, compassion. In a world obsessed with success, power, and self promotion, Jesus reveals that true greatness is found in humility. The pierced heart and the birth of the church. The fathers of the church saw profound meaning when the soldier pierced Christ's side. From his wounded side flowed blood and water. As the Gospel of John, chapter 19, verse 34 would say. John Chrysostom taught, from his side Christ formed the church, just as he was formed from the side of Adam. The blood signifies Eucharist, the water signifies baptism. Thus, the church herself is born from the heart of Christ. Every sacrament flows from his heart. Every grace flows from his heart. Every vocation flows from his heart. The Sacred Heart is therefore not merely a devotion among many devotions, it is a contemplation of the very source of the Church's life. The revelations to Saint Margaret Mary. In the 17th century, Jesus appeared to Saint Margaret and revealed his heart surrounded by thorns and burning with love. He lamented, Behold, this heart which has loved men so much, yet receives from the greater part of humankind only ingratitude. The devotion to the Sacred Heart emerged as a response to this appeal for reparation and conversion. The Church carefully discerned these revelations and eventually embraced them because they perfectly echoed gospel message. The Sacred Heart calls us not only to receive love but also to respond to it. The Sacred Heart and Divine Mercy. The devotion to the Sacred Heart finds continuation in the message of divine mercy entrusted to Sister Faustina. Both devotions reveal the same truth. The greatest attribute of God is His mercy. Pope Francis often reminds us the name of God is mercy. No sin is greater than love flowing from heart of Christ. Many people live burdened by guilt, failure, loneliness, and fear. Today's gospel addresses to them, "Come to me." The Eucharist is, in fact, the living heart of Jesus. The closest encounter we have with the Sacred Heart of Jesus. John Paul II taught us the Eucharist is the sacrament of the heart of Jesus. In every Mass, the heart that beat in Bethlehem, wept at Lazarus' tomb, forgave sinners, and was pierced on Calvary becomes present among us. The Eucharist is not merely a remembrance of love, it is love Himself. Every Holy Communion is an invitation to rest in the heart of Jesus. Yes, we are called to rest in the heart of Jesus. The world is exhausted. Many are burdened by anxiety. Families carry hidden wounds. Young people search for meaning. The elderly battle loneliness. Priests and religious often carry unseen crosses. To all of them, Christ repeats, "Come to me, and I will give you rest." The heart of God's answer to human restlessness. As Saint Augustine wrote, "Our hearts are restless until they rest in you." Today, let us place our fears, sins, disappointments, and hopes into the heart of Jesus. May we discover that His heart remains open, a heart that never stops loving, a heart that never stops forgiving, a heart that never stops waiting. And we leave this Eucharist resolved to have become living reflections of Sacred Heart in our families, communities, and ministries. Most Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on us and make our hearts like unto yours. Amen.